Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today and going and getting settled in here as the stream prepares. Thanks again so much for everybody joining us. And as you can see, and I'm sure you know already, we are going to be talking about some cool things here with church apps. I'll switch over so you guys can see me here. Everyone. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. This is a Sharefaith webinar on church apps, and if you have not been to a Sharefaith webinar before, my name is Zach, and with me today I have Mr. Chris Reed, who's going to be on the chat with you guys, so you can hear. So if you guys have any questions in regards to what we're talking about, definitely be sure to hop on there and let him know if anything comes up. We like to, if you guys have a moment, just let us know where you guys are coming in from. If you guys can give us an idea like what city and state you're coming from. The way the chat works down at the bottom, you can either enter your first name and hit enter, and that should put you right in so you can start talking to us. Or if you'd also like, you can use your Facebook or Twitter. Don't worry, we don't post any of this to your Facebook or Twitter. It's just so you can log in and interact with us. Totally up to you. Otherwise, feel free to sit back and watch, but we love to interact with you guys. Now, as we do the webinar, I'm going to be talking about a number of things involving church apps. If you already have a church app, that's fantastic, and hopefully we'll have some great information here for you that you can glean from as well. If you have a church app with Sharefaith, I just do ask if you have any questions that pertain to your app specifically. We'd love to answer any questions you guys have about features or anything like that. We'll have a live Q&A session at the end of this. But if you guys have any support requests, we have a support page that you can reach out to one of our team members specifically who can walk with you on that. But here for the webinar, we just want to talk about the different things the church app can do. And if there are any questions, as I said, that come up, feel free to pop in the chat, and Chris will do his best to answer those for you. And we'll have some time at the end where I'll also cover some of those things for you as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pray for us first before we begin, and then we'll jump right into it. Father God, I thank you for this time today. I pray that it be fruitful, that we learn how we can do better as communicators within the church, Lord, and ultimately just see what kinds of platforms are out there and using the technology that's out there today to be able to reach people on a more effective level. And I pray that everyone here who's joining us, that you would just bless them, that they would feel that they can really get something, some good information from this, be able to take back to whoever they need to discuss these things. And Lord, ultimately, I just pray that you would just bless their ministries and their churches that they're a part of, that they would grow, that they would continue to spread the gospel and advance your kingdom, Lord, no matter what the means. And Lord, we thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so thanks so much, guys. I'm going to switch you back over to my screen so you can see what's going on here. So first of all, I'm going to introduce who Sharefaith is, so you guys are aware. Again, I know a lot of folks already know who we are, and some already might be Sharefaith members. But for those who aren't familiar, Sharefaith is kind of what we think of ourselves as an all-in-one church resource provider. So we do things like mobile apps that we'll talk about here. We also do church websites. We do online giving platform. We offer worship media graphics and videos and all of that stuff that you can use for your services. And we also offer some amazing Sunday school kids Bible resources. So Sharefaith offers a lot of different things that you're welcome to take a look at here after we discuss things in the webinar today. And we'll send some more information for you guys as well so you can learn more about us too. Now, on to the topic at hand, though, before we start talking about apps specifically, I want to talk a bit about a basic church communication strategy, because I think that's how we can kind of put things together and see really where mobile apps, technology in general, where it all fits in and can help us to just be more effective at communicating, whether that's inside the church or outside the church and so forth. So when it comes to the process of reaching and discipling people, the first step I think of is outreach. Getting your word out to people who are outside of the church walls, being a part of the community, interacting with people, and getting your presence known and letting people understand what the message is that you're bringing. So outreach is a huge part of what I view as the first step of being a church and going out there and making an impact on the community. Now, from there, once you've actually met with people and you've communicated with them, the next stage is to connect with them. So you don't want to just simply say hello and then never see them again. But ideally, you can make a connection and start to develop a bond with people. Whether that's someone who comes regularly to an outreach that you're at, or maybe it's somebody who, one of your members goes and is a neighbor to and witnesses to next door. Whatever the process, somehow that your church is able to be a part of that and help foster that and connect and develop a relationship from there. Now, once the connection's made, ultimately the goal is we want to disciple people. And, looks like I've got some cool designs going on here. So ultimately the goal is we want to disciple people. We want to be able to not just connect them, but then build on that relationship and be able to grow and foster that. And ultimately we want to see that transform into a relationship with Jesus, not just the church, but somebody who is a Christian who has an active walk with the Lord and grows and matures spiritually so that they can come to know him better. Now it looks like my computer is having a little bit of a tough time, so it's starting back up here. But I'll continue on and we can just kind of pick up in the presentation where we go. So once we go through the process and we look at this basic communication strategy, the next part is we want to actually have the right tools at our disposal to be able to do that. Well, if we look at church communication as it is today, and really any form of communication where an organization is trying to reach out and meet people where they are, so much of it is done digitally. And this means that we have different things, whether that's online, through the use of a website, whether that's through social media. Email is a huge thing that's still, something that we can do better and we can grow at and we can get better at communicating with. I know a lot of folks who are here today probably know about it through the emails that were sent to you guys, so you could know about it. So there's lots of ways that we can communicate online. Now, the one thing that we need to look at that's really transformed in the past couple of years is how that's being digested in a sense by the people on the end. No longer is it so common that we're seeing people on computers. Yes, they are still prevalent, and that is, of course, still a major way that people are going online. But mobile usage has actually surpassed standard PCs and desktops and things like that as far as the means to be able to access internet content. So what this means for us is that we need to make sure that whatever we're using, whatever resources we have at our disposal, if we're communicating online, there needs to be some type of mobile compatibility in place. And ultimately, not just mobile compatibility, but integration, because we're talking about the devices that these days you see people have on them, on their person and with them and using them. Usually I think the average is about 3 hours per day. And so, which doesn't surprise me at all with my own experience with smartphones. So if we're talking about meeting people where they're at, then that's a huge area where we can come into and be interactive and engaging in a part of someone's life more available and a part of someone's communication more readily. So here, when this comes back, I want to show you guys, because I know one of the things that we get asked a lot is what's the difference between a mobile website and a mobile app? And that's a great question, and it's definitely worth talking about because there are some significant differences between the two platforms. Now, with a mobile website, what we mean by that is simply a responsive site. It's a website that, when being viewed through a mobile device, such as a smartphone or tablet, it knows how to format itself properly to be very easy to read, very easy to select options that you want to, links, menu items, things like that. But a mobile website is still just a website, meaning that it's limited in that somebody has to physically go to the website in order to digest information from it, whether they're going through a search engine or they're following a link somewhere. They have to engage that interaction and be able to go to the site. And then from there, the site is going to have a ton of information. Your website should ideally be a place where no matter kind of what area someone's in, no matter what part of their walk they're in, if they're a potential newcomer to your church or somebody who's been going there for a long time, your website tends to be kind of a central hub where a lot of that communication is at. But that also means that for somebody who is a member who knows exactly what they're looking for, maybe they're just trying to find out, they're trying to check into last week's sermon so they can look at that and be able to hear that, or maybe they just want to go to do their tithing online, whatever the case may be. Then if that's the case, then they have to initiate that, type in the address, go there. It's not a terribly long process, but it could certainly be more convenient. Now, church apps are a lot more effective in this way because a church app, for one thing, is going to be much more active in engaging your users for you. This means that things like push notifications, now you're probably familiar with those if you have a smartphone. If you have a device that has apps on it, a lot of times you'll get these notifications on your screen that tell you something's going on with the app. That might be that new content's added, maybe it's just a reminder about something. Sometimes it could even be a personal message from the app saying that there's something going on. Now, churches can really utilize that because not only can they alert people as to like when a new sermon's available to listen to or a new blog post to read, but you can even put in a friendly reminder or some kind of a special message to folks, maybe a notification about, hey, service time has changed or canceled due to weather, or hey, we have an urgent prayer request for this person, please pray. Or we're running a fundraiser right now. Check this out to be able to go on and see how you can become a part of it. Different things like that can be initiated actively to people, so they don't have to go to your website to find that information, but it can be delivered directly to them, and they can just pull out their phone, again, a device that they're going to have on them all the time these days, and be able to see that more readily. So push notifications are a fantastic way of doing that. Also, this is just being realistic. It's much more convenient for somebody who's a member who wants to be able to just go directly to specific things. If they can pull it up in the app and launch it right there, rather than go to their web, go to their browser and type in the web address and be able to have to find that way. I can tell you in honesty, from my own experience, I almost always just go to my church's app. I don't typically spend a lot of time going online to the browser, typing it all in, and going from there. It's just a lot easier. It's much nicer formatted for me on the app. I can just pull it up and then within a tap or two be able to go straight to wherever I'm trying to go. If I want to listen to last week's sermon, I can just pull it up, go to the sermon section, and there it is, be able to listen to it. If I want to be able to tithe and then be able to take care of that, I can just pull it up, tap on the giving section, and be able to do that. So it's so much more convenient in that sense for me as well. And they say that typically the average person will spend 18 times more time on a mobile app through their mobile device than they will through their mobile web browser. For you, this means that the average person will most likely spend about 18 times more of their time on your app than they will on your website. So somebody who's a frequent visitor for your online content will most likely go there instead. Now, as this plays out, we can think about these things, and so that means that we're talking about engagement. We're talking about something that's much more intentional. It's a lot more proactive in terms of communicating with people for us, and it's a much more effective platform for being able to reach and disciple people more so than just a website will be. A website is a fantastic resource as well, and it's something that's really powerful in terms of outreach because people can find us on there, but then the app is a much more effective way to continuously engage that person from that point on. And if you have anybody who likes to stay up to date on what's going on in your church, which I'm sure you've got plenty of people in that category, then they're going to be much more happy with your app than versus trying to remember all the time to go check on your website. So, all right, got my computer fired back up here. And let's go ahead and see if we can pull this back up. Okay. All right, guys, so I'm switching you back over to my screen. Hopefully you can see everything all right. Oops, don't need this guy. So this is what I like to call mobile app mountains. Now, the idea of an app is alluring. Sure, there's lots of cool things that we can do with it. It's a really neat piece of technology. It's very trendy and hip and all those cool things. But at the same time, we have to look at what's realistic and how do we go about the process of getting something like this? And there are a few things that typically will come into play that we have to look at and address before we're going to the stage that we actually are ready to get the app published and out there. So these are what I call mobile app mountains. Now, these might not be a big deal to a lot of churches. Some churches come across and go, we got all this handled. It's not a big deal. Things like this, ease of use, time involved with it. We have personnel on hand who can handle it. The price involved may not be a big deal, but I know a lot of churches where these are a big deal. I mean, we're talking about, you typically need volunteer members. Not always can you use staff members or hire staff to be able to handle these kinds of things. And price is definitely an issue with a lot of churches. I mean, today we just don't necessarily always have the luxury of spending thousands and thousands of dollars for something just because it's the latest and greatest thing. But that's what I want to look at here, because I want to talk about these obstacles and how churches can actually overcome things like these. So the first thing we'll look at is ease of use. So let's go ahead and check that out. Now, with ease of use, what I'm talking about is being simple to work with. It's nice, the idea of having a church app, but what's the process of actually getting something like this developed? And how about maintaining it from there once it is developed? Well, the first thing we have to kind of keep in mind is that mobile app is software. It's something that lives and breathes in code. It's not a magical thing that just comes up and works for everything, but there's really a language behind it that has to be done with. So the great thing is that there are lots of services out there that will provide, the means of actually doing all of this heavy lifting for you, so to speak. But ultimately, you have to look at some things like, what are they compatible with? The biggest ones out there right now have been for the longest time. You're talking about iOS, stuff with your iPhones, iPads, anything Apple mobile device related, and Android, what Google is a part of. So, part of Google. So Android is the other big one. So between these two alone, you're talking about well over 80% of the market of smartphones are utilizing these software platforms. So having these two is essential to being able to to be able to cater towards the majority of people with devices today. Now, companies offer to build things like this, but there are some things you have to keep in mind when it comes to it. First of all, you have to look and see what are they going to develop for. Are they going to do both Apple and Android? Are they going to, what kinds of charge are going to come into play? We'll look at that here in a bit. What's the turnaround time on stuff like this? Are they somebody's, cousin who just happens to know how to code, who's going to get around to developing it for you when they can? Or is this a company of developers that does this professionally, and what are they looking like for as far as their rates and how that all works? So these are all things to keep in mind when you're looking around, because most of the time you're not going to have somebody on staff who knows how to develop all this stuff and do it for you. Now, aside from ease of use, keep in mind having someone on hand, the time involved, even when it's developed for you, you still have to keep in mind things like maintaining it. And if you're going to have any new content that appears on it, how long is it going to take for you to create that content? How does it have to be delivered by if another company is doing all of this for you? If the company turns things over to you so that way you can do it, what's the platform looking like? So these are all valid questions, and making sure that you have the proper personnel and the right frame of mind too, as far as like, this is how long we need to make sure we give ourselves before we want to have this update out, so you can kind of understand what the flow and process is like. Some things aren't just a matter of switching a few things around on the app and calling it good, but there are some things that you'll need to actually republish the app for. Like, these are updates that need to happen in the App Store or in Google Play for them. So if that happens, then you have to wait for that whole process to take place. And with Apple, you're talking about sometimes 7 to 10 business days for them to make those changes live. And sometimes it can be faster, it just depends. But so you have to be mindful that there's all these other factors that come into play too, that are part of the process of getting the app out there. Now, last and of course, certainly not least, and a big thing that churches don't like to talk about, but we have to, are costs. So, with costs, first of all, a lot of times what you'll look at is most companies will charge startup costs. So that means that you have a large sum that you have to put just for them to start working on this thing. So it's just for them to take the time out of their schedule to actually start developing something like this for you. And that can range anywhere from a few $100s to thousands of dollars, depending on the company and the developer. Also, features can add costs. If they say, oh, you want to be able to have sermons played on your app, that's going to cost extra. Oh, you want to be able to have a blog feed on there, that's going to cost extra. Oh, you want online giving on there? These things can add up with some companies where they have essentially like pay per feature costs that come into the equation as well. Monthly hosting is another thing. See, a lot of people don't necessarily realize that apps also work much in the same manner of websites. Websites need to be hosted on servers, and in the same manner, so do mobile apps. They're accessible internet software, so they have to be hosted somewhere that people can go to. So a lot of companies will then charge hosting costs that are, in many cases, very much the same as what you would pay to host a website even. So sometimes more. So you have to look at all of that too when you're looking into the costs. And last but not least, with Apple, and I think they're the only ones so far, but you have to actually pay a developer license each year for your app. So these are all things that add up real quick, and I've heard some people, again, say they've been able to find some apps that are just super bare bones for, like hundreds of dollars, but most of the time you're talking well into the thousands. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you, because I want to mention that there is a solution with what Sharefaith provides. So Sharefaith, again, with all of our solutions that we offer, we've really been stepping up the game and making a big shakeup with church apps since we introduced them. We have a very simple process that I'm going to show you some of the features of the dashboard that Sharefaith uses, so you can see how simple it is. There's no coding required. Anybody can hop in there and do it. It's completely customizable. You can provide your own graphics. You can change the color scheme. You can do whatever you'd like to in order to be able to personalize the app and make it feel more like yours. And then cost effective, very much so. You don't have all of these fees that I was showing you before. We actually include it with our complete membership, which I'll mention what all comes with that in a bit. And I love the fact too that there's a perfect harmony between how your app and your website communicate with each other. So you can actually make changes to one and be able to update both in one fell swoop. So I'll show you again what that kind of looks like. So here's some features that the Sharefaith Church app includes. Now, first of all, I mentioned push notifications. So this is a big one. You can kind of see an example here on a screenshot of what that looks like. So you can put in a reminder. You can provide custom notifications through Sharefaith, and you can put in as many as you want, and it'll send out, and you can even delay them if you'd like to. So if you just want to have something set to go out at a specific time later in the day, you can do something like that. In addition to push notifications and alerts, as I mentioned, you can use your own custom graphics. We even have a massive stock photo library you can pull from if you don't have, say, images of your own that you want to use, but you can utilize anything like that, or you can upload your own images or download other images too from sites like sharefaith.com and other places that provide them. You can also do sermon audio playback. So these are all features that are included. By the way, as I said, there are no additional costs. So everything that I'm showing you here is included with the app at no cost to you. So you can play back sermon audio. You can even include links to video so that people can watch video from within the app as well. It'll just pull up the link to your video in the browser. So if you have YouTube, Vimeo, anything like that you've got your video of your service recorded, or a video that you want to just include with the sermon audio, then you can do that as well, so they can access it all within there. You can even do things like provide downloadable notes. So if you have a PDF or a PowerPoint you want to share with them, that works too. You can share encouragement. So I love that we actually released Church Apps version 2 earlier this year. One of the big things that we added is a Bible reader. I know it's something a lot of folks really like, because it's the idea that somebody can just go into your church's app and be able to pull the Bible up from right within there. There's different translations you can allow them to choose from, so they can go through and they can even customize it from there. They can choose what color scheme they want, font sizes, different fonts to choose from too for readability. So they have a lot of flexibility. It's a very well-designed, gorgeous app. And there's even some audio Bible for some of the translations, so they can listen to it too. I love you can actually give directions. So if you want to be able to offer ability, so if somebody, say, like comes across your app, whether they're looking on the App Store or if they go on your website and they see a link to where they can download the app, you can include a location option where they can tap on that, and that'll actually take them into their map app, whatever the default is for that. And they'll be able to go through and pull directions up so they know exactly how to get to your church from there. So that's a great effective outreach tool. And then you can also simplify giving through it. As I mentioned, if I'm going with a purpose to try to go to the website or something, then I have to navigate my way there. With the app, I can just pull it up, and it's like, oh, online giving. And that's what I do, honestly, all the time. That is my honest to goodness means that I do it. I pull up my church's app, and I just go do online giving that way. And there is the online giving platform included with Sharefaith membership, or you can utilize really any online giving service if you want to, and it works fully integrated with it. So, the apps come with tons of features. What I'm going to do now at this time, since you guys can see my screen, I'm going to switch out of here, and I'm going to pull up log into a website for you guys so you can see it. And this is what the app builder looks like. So as I mentioned before, it synchronizes with your website. And by that I mean, really, it's something that you can build within your website. So the complete membership includes all of this stuff, your church website, your church mobile app, so it's all together. So I can go right within the app section of my website, and from within here, I have all the tools at my disposal to be able to do things like apply all the names and everything that I need to for the store to be able to upload it there. I have all these areas for graphics in here, and it's very simple to work with. I can just choose an image that I want to use. In fact, let me go into my photos here, and I'll just drag and drop an image. Let's say this one right over one of the image areas on the app, and you can see the little wheel there to show that it's working. And so first it's going to upload it for me. Now, since this image is not the exact dimensions that the app needs, it's going to give me some freedom here to be able to fix that and be able to change the image dimensions however I see fit. So let's say I want to maybe zoom in a little bit, or can change that up. I can rotate it if I want to. But for now, I say this is good. I'll hit finish, and then at that point, it'll apply all the changes for me. Very easy and straightforward. So now it's the proper dimensions and everything that the App Store and Google Play are going to be looking for when I actually publish my app. And likewise, I can do even launch images. So these are cool little images that appear on my screen when I first fire the app up. And so I'll be able to see that. So you can include something that has your church's name, an image that associates with your church, however you want to do that. These here are the icons, so you can personalize your own icons. So when somebody goes on their phone, it's on their home screen, they can actually see the icon and they know exactly what it is because it would have your church's logo or some identifier for them that it's your church. And then down here we have a screenshot section. So the App Store and Google Play, they require some screenshots so people can see what it looks like before they download it. So when they're in there and they're getting ready to download it, they can see some examples of what the inside of the app looks like. And to do that, all you have to do on this side of the screen, when I scroll down, you'll see there's a little take screenshot button. So I would just click that in phone mode or in tablet mode. I can switch back and forth to see what it's going to look like in either one. And then I can take a screenshot from there if I want to. And you can update these at any time, and then what we do is we'll actually go and do the work for you as far as updating through Apple and Google Play. So let's, for example, go to a blog section here so we can see some examples of where images are coming into play. So now you can see we have a blog list, and what it's doing is I've got some images that are in here. If I go to the design tab, I can do things like change the color scheme to pick any of the colors that are available up here, or I can drag and drop any of these stock photos from this massive library. So if I want to, say, change this image out, I can just drag it into this spot, and voila, it changes it automatically for me. So very easy, I don't have to worry about it. I can find something that works with my post or my sermon. The sermons can look like this as well. There's a few different formats I can choose. Right now this is done in kind of like a seamless vertical style where everything's just on top of each other. So my newest posts are at the top. Or I can even go to this style, which shows kind of like more of a thumbnail approach with it just kind of creates rows and columns of thumbnails with the titles underneath. Or I can do a side-by-side thumbnail where it'll actually create a column here that has the thumbnails and then a column here that has the text. Another neat thing that we just added because people were asking about it, and we like to listen to your guys' feedback and take that all into consideration, is on this, sometimes people want to upload a graphic that already has text on it. Maybe it's a sermon graphic that they created for their sermon series or something like that. But then if they do that and they have this text come over the top of it, that can be a little bit annoying. So what we've done is we've actually included a checkbox that you can check, and that would remove the titles so all you see is the image. So if you want the image to have the title on it already and it's already done exactly the way you want, then you can check that box and it'll turn off the title so we don't add anything else on top of it. It's just the way it is. And so I think that's something a lot of folks are really happy about, having that freedom now. All right, now you can also do things like, since this is a blog, it's looking at categories on my website. So I can go through and I can create special categories, or I could even make sure it mirrors what I have on my website. So blogs can be used for just, posting devotionals, maybe announcements, maybe pastors kind of like journaling a little bit on there about what's going on with the church or him. Maybe you guys have something going on with somebody else, like a missionary that you're keeping track of. Or maybe you have something going on with, like, say, like just a newsletter. Like you want to post updates like, hey, Right now we've got back to schools going on next week, and then we've got the fall festival coming up, or after that we're getting ready for the Christmas caroling and Christmas concert. Like whatever is going on, you can post and have stuff like that updated, and then it automatically adds to the app whenever it's created, as long as it's in the category that you tell the app to look for. So it's very versatile, lets you do all kinds of things. The other neat thing that I mentioned before that we've added is the ability for notification delay. So this just means that if you add content right away and you are not necessarily wanting to publicize it right now, maybe it's not a good time. Maybe you're working on this in the middle of the night and you don't want your phones going off in everybody's ears next to them on their nightstand. Or perhaps you even want to just give a little delay so you know the content has time. It can take a couple minutes to really load up within the app once you've saved it. Then you can set a delay on here so it just waits a little bit, or you can have it wait up to 24 hours, or you can even tell it no, just don't even bother sending a notification about this section. It's mostly just for people who come in and check in regularly. Whatever the case may be, we've added some freedom there so you can now do all that too. All right, now, so there's a blog. The donate section here is actually set up as a link, so you can link to either a donation page that you have on your website, so it's just a quick access there, or even if you just want to link directly to a form that someone can go online and give with, you can do that as well. You can do an external link, you can do internal on your website, whatever works best for you. That's essentially what the donate section does, so you can get any type of giving service that can work with it. The inbox is great. That's actually something that we've added with version 2. So anytime you send out a custom push notification, there's sometimes when some devices don't necessarily show the entire thing. So the inbox, the purpose of that is that somebody can actually go to that and be able to see the entire archive of all the notifications that have come through. So if they want to be able to read it all the way through, if they didn't get to see the whole thing on their lock screen for whatever reason, then they can come in and do that as well. And then we have a messages section, so this is essentially where the sermons are. So you can, again, tell it what sermons to look for. If you have playlists that are set up on your website, which you can learn how to do through our support site, we've got some great tutorials on that. Once you get your playlist set up, you can choose from any of those and tell the app to pull in sermons that get added to those. So if you have, say, like a playlist based on preacher, and Pastor John just finished his message and you upload it, then it'll notify folks who have the app that the new sermon's available once it's on there, and they'll be able to listen to it through the app. The nice thing is they can even download it on the app if they want to. So you can have it set, if you give it the freedom to do so, you can allow them to download it, which is great. So if they're traveling and they're unable to make it to service because of that and they're out of town, then they could still download it. So even if they're on the road again, they don't have to worry about losing their signal or anything like that, and they can still listen to the message on the go. I think that's a great tool too, just a side note, because I like the idea that if you're talking to someone about your church and you want to kind of let them have a chance to hear some teaching and stuff like that, or share some teaching with them, it's great to be able to pull out the app and be able to just have them be able to hear what was going on right then and there. Location, as I mentioned, it's really easy. All you have to do is simply put in your address, and then it'll automatically throw that into, again, whatever they have set up as their default map app on their phone, whether that's Apple or whether that's Google, whatever they're using, then they can pull that up in there. And then there's a more section that we've added where you can do things like if you want to have the Bible reader in here, if you want to add some more spots, you can see down here, this is where you can choose what you want to add. So like, for example, if I want to add a link to another page, so it's just like a quick link within the app. Perhaps I want to say school fundraiser. So I could link to something specifically about that and just put that in here. So when somebody taps on it within the app, it just takes them straight there. It just adds to the convenience of it and makes it so if you want to make something a bit more promoted and have it available more readily, then you can do so through there. Other things too, like you can see in here, we have a direct link to tutorials, so at any time along the way, if you run into a question about how to do something within the Church App Builder, you can go to tutorials and it'll take you straight to our super cool Church App page here, where you can learn more and you can access tutorials through our support site. Also down here, as I was going to point out, there's a contact section. These are really cool, unique things where they're basically text box areas where you can add whatever you'd like about it. Maybe if you want to include some information about your church in the app, for people who are pulling it up, perhaps some, just some general information like service times, maybe even you want to include stuff like your mission and vision, so it's a bit more personal. You can do all that within here and have freedom to do so. And you can include more contact information such as a phone number, email, Facebook, Twitter, all those fields are available, so you can fill those out if you have them. And this is also great that we have the option to do more of these, because sometimes you have a contact for your church in general, and sometimes you might have ministries within the church that are very prevalent within the community, and people want to reach those specifically. So you can put that information for people to be able to go straight within here and do things like that. You can also rearrange all these within your app, so once they're created, you don't have to leave them as is. You can actually drag and drop them with these little cool little icons here, so you can fix it however you want it to look within the app. You can edit them with this little button, which is essentially the same as what I was doing with clicking on them. You can also make them invisible. Now, the benefit to that is just if you are working on some major changes for it, or it's not quite ready yet, but you want it to be available so you don't have to wait until we publish everything back to the App Store again for you. You can have it invisible for a time and then just turn it back on once you're ready for people to see it again, and it will still be there, so you don't have to wait for us, because we do about once a month. We'll go through all of the apps and republish them with a new update. So anything you've changed that affects the App Store, whether it's adding a new section to your app like this, or if you're if you've updated your screenshots, if you've changed your icons, again, as I said, we take care of all that, but we just go around once a month to check on that kind of stuff. So anyways, I was just going to say, that's essentially it with what the interface looks like. You can see there's all kinds of stuff in here to do, and we're always updating things as well. So as I said, your feedback is important to us, and we have recently added some new things with that. And you can just go back and forth and see exactly what it's going to look like on the phone or the tablet version as you're making your changes. Once you're done, if you haven't already published it to the store, you can do so just by clicking this button, and you just need to have your website ready to go with the domain and all of that beforehand, and then you can publish it, and we'll get it rolled out for you guys at no charge to you or anything like that. It's just part of your membership. So now let me talk a bit about this here real quick, because this is something that I just want to say with Sharefaith. What Chris and I have both been here a few years, and we just really love the fact that we have the opportunity here to work with you guys and to help you guys out with stuff. I see Chris is talking with some folks there. He's chatting with you guys, and we just love the fact that we've got award-winning support. And I mean, really, it's a fantastic team of guys. We just get tons of praise from members who have worked with us and just said that they really understand that we understand where you guys are coming from. We know what churches go through. Most of us, if not all of us here at Sharefaith, are actively involved in volunteering with our church or some Christian ministry in some capacity. So we're always aware of the struggles that you guys are dealing with, and we just want to do our best to be one less thing that you have to worry about and be able to get all of your solutions taken care of. So you can reach us. We're here Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. So again, if you are a member and you guys have any questions for us, definitely reach out to us. We're happy to help with you guys. We love hearing from you. And even if it's just feedback or saying hi and everything, we love to hear all that stuff too. Now, as I mentioned, it is a complete resource package for churches. So you're talking about with Sharefaith, you're not just getting a mobile app. A lot of companies, that's all they do. They just do mobile apps, and that's fine. We work to make not only a mobile app that is out there and running with the best of them as far as an app provider, but we also include that with church websites, with worship media, with our Sunday school Bible resources, with online giving, presentation software. Support, as I mentioned, is a huge thing for us to make sure you guys are taken care of. And we even do website migration. So if you are currently with somebody else for a website and you're looking at church websites through Sharefaith as well, we'll even migrate that over for you for free. And this is all with the complete membership. So now most companies, what they're going to do is they're going to separate things out. So you're going to get You're going to get, if you want to find an app, a lot of times you're looking at well over $600 to get something out there like that, and that's just the starting cost. That's before all the monthly hosting fees come in, and a lot of times before all the fees come into place just to get everything else you need your church app to do. Websites, well over $1,000 per year. Media, over $300 easy. $600 for Sunday school is like, that's like bare bones. I hope you're giving your kids a little bit more budget than that. Online giving is all over the place because you don't know if you're going to be signed up with something that has like a membership fee and then you have to pay all these costs on top of it, or if it's a flat rate fee but then it's pretty high as far as what they take off the top. So there's different things that you might have to, these are all factors and things that you have to keep in mind when you're looking at what comes with Sharefaith Complete. I mean, this is over $2,500 a year worth of stuff if you're looking through any other company, just getting it by itself through them. Now, if you're looking at Sharefaith, where everything's all included, we stay super competitive, and we have an amazing price point of only $852 a year. That's the normal price on Complete Yearly. So it's less than half of what the competitors are going to charge for everything else. Now, if you're mainly looking at a website, even if you're just looking at a website and an app or having an online presence, I mean, that's still a killer deal. Now, the cool thing is if you are in that position where you're wondering about getting started and what that's going to look like, right now, if you guys haven't seen already through our emails that we've been sending out, we're actually running a very special sale right now, 20% off. It's $170 savings for the year with Complete Yearly. And here's some cool things. I just want to share with you guys some of the testimonies that we've got. This is from Pastor Brian Vickers. Says, we've used Sharefaith for over a year now and have benefited in so many ways. Thanks for what you do, Sharefaith. And he's out of Rock, Illinois. And then Jason Gaines says, we've used Sharefaith for about 4 years, and without a doubt, it's a #1 resource for our website and media needs every week. Brian Edwards says, using your website has been an incredible convenience, and using Sharefaith for all our resource website was an amazing decision. You have amazing media, website tools, and support. We're very happy we're Sharefaith members. Ken Williams says, Sharefaith has been a huge blessing. Nowhere else do you find the ease, the selection, and the support like at Sharefaith. I've told all my other church creative peers to go with Sharefaith. So, like, that's just amazing to hear these kinds of things from our members, and to know that we've been able to be so helpful and impacting. And ultimately, like, our goal is not just to sit here and to just make money and profit off this stuff. But ultimately, what we're doing is we're trying to actually come alongside ministries and help them in using these tools to the best of their ability. Now, my question is, for all the folks who are here today, what brings you here today? Now, you might already be a Sharefaith member, and you just want to see some cool stuff that's going with the apps, which is fantastic. If you're not a member and you're curious as to what Sharefaith has to offer, then I suspect that you're one of these people. You might be a ministry leader who's out there, who's trying to see what's available, how I can get really everything they're looking for in the most cost-effective way possible. As I said, you might be a current member looking to utilize the full potential of your app, or maybe you're what I call a wild card, somebody who's just looking and curious to see what's going on here, and might be looking at talking to their church more about this. Well, whatever's going on, I just want you guys to know that we are here for you. The mission here at Sharefaith, our mission, and this is our actual written mission on our site, is to partner with churches globally in expanding their outreach and proclaiming Jesus as Lord, King, and Savior. Our mandate is to proclaim the gospel through creating cutting-edge media and technology resources that equips the entire ministry team and all ministry platforms to serve and teach with excellence. And our motivation is compelled by the love of Christ. We extend his love by using our gifts, skills, and experience to further the gospel so lives can be transformed into personal relationships with God. That's who Sharefaith is. That's what we're about, and that's our desire, is to see these things happen through the resources that we provide churches all around the world. Now, on top of that, we're not, as I said, we're not just out to get the profits and everything, but we're also very proud to be able to sponsor and help other ministries too. 2 ministries that we're very actively involved with and very big contributors with are Compassion International, which I'm sure a lot of folks are probably familiar with, in terms of helping children in poverty around the world and spreading the gospel to them as well. And then also the A21 campaign, which is a nonprofit organization that's devoted to helping to save people who have been involved in sex slave trade, or any type of slave trade around the world, whether that's through making it illegal in places that it's not yet so, or even just campaigning and helping and working on the front lines, bringing people out of that. So these are 2 ministries that we all here at Sharefaith feel very, very passionate about being involved with and helping. And so it's something that really it's a matter of showing our heart as to wanting to do more and help in any way we can. So with that, I thank you guys so much. Now we are going to have a little time here left over, looks like, for some questions and answers. So Chris has been on there talking to a lot of folks, and if there's anything there that we can talk about that can help benefit everybody here who's with us today, we'll see what's available. Chris, is there anything that you've seen come up on the chats that would be good to talk about?
I had somebody ask if the if different sermon players were compatible with our Sharefaith app.
So someone's asking if different sermon players are compatible with the Sharefaith app. So the way it would work, it would not be using, obviously if you're talking about using a sermon player outside of a church website, what's on the Sharefaith websites, it would not use that exact system. However, what you could do is, just like I was kind of showing with the links and things like that, you can create a link on your app that links directly to the sermon player if it's something else on your website or maybe through a third-party service that you host at. So you could put a link to it so people can at least still quickly and effectively get to your sermons to be able to listen to them. That would not be a problem. So I hope that answers your question. Was there anything else that came up at all, Chris? No? No? All right. Well, cool. I mean, fantastic. I hope you guys got some good details out of this. We will be following up with everybody, so you guys will get PDFs of the slides here today, so you can kind of see more on that if you want to read through those or be able to share those with anybody else. We'll have the replay of the webinar available for a while, so people can still tune in and check it out. And if any other questions do come up, don't hesitate to let us know. You can reach out to us through the support site, which is support.sharefaith.com, and create a ticket or even give us a call, and one of our product ambassadors is happy to answer questions you guys have. Again, if you guys are having any questions particular to your church app, again, don't hesitate to reach out to us about that either. We'd love to make sure everything's working perfectly for you guys, so reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you with that as well. With that, I'm just going to go ahead and close us in prayer, and I thank you guys for taking the time today. So, Father God, I thank you for everyone who's here. I pray that this information really helped to kind of help them see and give them some guidance in how these different types of technology can be utilized to the fullest, that they can reach and make a bigger impact together as a church community within their community that they belong to. Father, I ask that you would just give them insight as to what to do from here. If they already have a platform like this that they're utilizing, how they can do so better, how they can even make more use out of it. Father, if they're not and they're researching, they're checking it out, Lord, I just pray that you would give them guidance as to what's the right path for them to do then. If they should look at getting one or whatever the case may be, that you would just ultimately give them the insight and wisdom to make the right choice. And Father, ultimately for their ministries, I just pray that they grow, they flourish, that they glorify you. Lord, that your name would be spread throughout the world, that your gospel message would be preached, and that more and more would become saved and come to you, Lord. So we thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, amen, guys. Thank you guys again so much. Always a pleasure, and looking forward to the next one. We'll follow up with you guys. Have a great day. God bless.